Hello, and welcome to my 1000 subscriber special. Now, if you've watched any of my videos, you'll know that I use the Total War games to recreate the battles in my documentaries. So, I present my personal history of the Total War games. The year is 2004, and Rome Total War has just been released. My first experience of seeing this amazing game was on a show in the UK called Time Commanders. The show's premise was a team of 4 would take control of a faction in an historical battle setting and try and beat the computer. My love of history as a child came from a book series called Horrible Histories. My favourite book in the series was The Groovy Greeks, and seeing a 3D video game where you could play as the Greek nations and command armies blew my young mind. And for Christmas that year, my mother gave me a laptop that could barely run the game, and that started my love for the Total War games. Now, let's have a look back at the games I played, and I'll give a short summary of my thoughts on each game. So, let's start with the game that really started it all for me, Rome Total War. And nostalgia is a powerful feeling, because this game has not aged well at all. But it's still very fun to play, as my favourite part was always the historical battles, where you could take control of the side that was destined to lose and try to win in the circumstances given. Hannibal's battles were always the hardest for me to win. Next up is Medieval Total War II, which came out in 2006 and still looks good, despite some inaccurate designs. The campaign was ace, as you could play as so many factions, and the DLC was great as well. My favourite being the Britannia expansion, as you could play as Wales. Empire Total War is next, and it was released in 2009. This game setting is in the Age of Enlightenment and spans from 1700 to 1800. This was also the first Total War game to feature real-time navy battles. And features incredibly detailed ships, such as the English warship HMS Victory, and also featured more devastating artillery. I still play this game quite a bit, as I'm currently playing as Sweden. Less than a year later, Napoleon Total War would be released, and had the same premise as Empire, but the game would mainly focus on the career of Napoleon Bonaparte. The game also had several upgrades, noticeably an improved physics engine, and the environment could play a deciding factor in the battles. For example, heavy rain would make muskets and cannons misfire. Now this game I consider the worst of all the Total War games, and that is Shogun II. I don't know why, I just really dislike playing this game, even with the unique Japanese ships. A sequel to Rome Total War came in 2013, and it probably had the worst start, as there were numerous issues with the game. I remember being so pumped for it, and when I got the game, it just kept crashing, or the campaign save files would be corrupted for whatever reason, but credit due, they fixed and improved the game so much, and even gave a new campaign for free. The soundtrack was also amazing. A few years later, and the game that I used most for creating the documentaries came out, Attila Total War, and yep, you guessed it, the game is sort of centered around Attila, not as much as Napoleon, but it follows the fall of the Western Roman Empire. And boy, if you play as the Western Roman Empire, you're in for a bad time. An outstanding game, and tons of mods make this one of the best. And finally, Total War Saga, Thrones of Britannia, and this great game is based around the 9th century, during the Viking Age in Britain, before the formation of England or Scotland. I used this game to remake the Battle of Hastings. So that was my personal history of all the Total War games I own. I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you so much for getting the channel to 1,000 subscribers. It means the world to me. And if you would like to support the channel, you can now do so via Patreon, link in the pinned description below. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time at the Battle of Bannockburn.